Over 3 days in Washington, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang held meetings with State Department head Antony Blinken, presidential advisor Jake Sullivan, and directly with Joe Biden. The main topic of the negotiations was the stabilization of relations between the countries to avoid new conflicts. At the same time, the parties openly say that there is no talk of alliance now.
As two leading countries in the world, China and the United States have differences and contradictions, but also share important common interests and face common problems that require them to jointly resolve. China and the United States should resume comprehensive dialogue to realize mutually beneficial cooperation, stabilize relations between the countries, and put bilateral relations on the path of healthy, stable and sustainable growth as soon as possible.
Wang Yi's visit came amid growing tensions between China and the United States over different positions on Russia's war against Ukraine and the situation in the Middle East. For example, China ignored the peace formula meeting of President Zelensky in Malta. At the same time, the economies of countries influence both each other and the whole world. Therefore, according to international analysts, Beijing and Washington fear a further escalation of the confrontation.
The key word here is stabilization of bilateral ties, not really improvement, but stabilization. The world needs the US and China to take on a rational path and stabilize their relationship, offering the region and the world more certainty. Jun Sun, director of the China program at the Washington-based think tank Stimson Center, in comments to the Sydney Morning Herald.
The meeting between Biden and Xi could be the culmination of negotiation process that has been dragging on for more than a year. Just this summer, the head of the State Department and the U.S. Secretaries of Commerce and Treasury paid visits to Beijing. And a few days before Wang Yi's visit to Washington, Chinese President Xi Jinping wrote an open letter to the annual dinner of the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations. In it, he noted that the fate of humanity depends on the relationship between the countries and that China is open to cooperation. Therefore, analysts expect the leaders' meeting in November to be long and cover a variety of issues.
This includes the East China Sea, the South China Sea, the Taiwan Strait, Taiwan, and the issues of Chinese policy regarding Shenyang, Hong Kong and Tibet. These are issues related to the Middle East. These are the questions related to Russia's war against Ukraine. Well, and accordingly, naturally, this is cooperation and deepening and restoration of the relations between China and the United States that exist in the high-tech sphere, in trade and economic cooperation, in the investment sphere, financially, in the banking sector.
Moreover, in his letter, Xi Jinping stated that only the US and China are superstates, which proves that Beijing does not treat Moscow as an equal partner, contrary to the Kremlin statements. Biden and Xi are expected to meet during the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. It will take place from November the 11th to the 17th in San Francisco. Reported by Dana Kolesnik, Danilo Kobza, UATV News.